All right, Canal Street Dreams, welcome back. We always say we have a special guest, but like I love this man that is on the pod today. He's truly one of my best friends. I probably talk to you. I would say I talk to Natasha the most on text.
Yep.
And then you might be the person I talk to. You and Raf are the people I talk to.
I think if it goes like a
most.
2-day stretch, things start to feel like, what's going on here?
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to check in.
I have to check in with my guy Mills.
But
I also have to check in. We've been checking in with every guest. Have you had a bowel movement yet today? And what was the quality of it?
on a scale of 1 to 10,
Well,
that's usually how I judge
Let's
it.
go
That's a little too much detail.
Let's go 1 to 10. Let's get into the
very
highlight reel. Give us the full highlight
It was
reel.
around 4 to 5.
Okay.
But felt great after.
Okay.
Like the body felt cleansed.
Okay.
So
Texturally.
I feel good about that.
How was the
I mean,
movement?
it is Anal Street Dreams, right? Or is it Canal?
Anal
Anal
street
Street Dreams.
Anal street.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be polite.
It's
Anal.
Canal. Sometimes
Anal, it's
we're,
like a little
sometimes
French.
we're anal.
Yeah. It's however you decide to say
So
it.
quality of 4, but like what happened? Can you give us like a detailed play-by-play?
No, I'm good.
No texture.
It was
it?
out. We're good. I got moved on. Went on a hike.
Tapered.
Tapered? Was it
Tapered or not?
No, it was all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. If it was if one of your artists on the roster painted it, who would have painted it?
I don't know. Soil?
I like that. That's what I thought when you said it was all over. I was like, it's going to soil.
Yeah.
It's going to soil. All right.
Comes out different every time.
I like that. I mean, I'm a big collector of soil.
That's right. You got some great soils.
I love soil.
Yep.
So, all right. So we got the bowel movement. We know where Mills is at.
Have you pooped?
I have pooped here. The light was not working in the bathroom at time again. I couldn't figure out how to turn it on. So I had to do my work in the dark, and it was just hands on either side of the wall holding myself up. I was like, I just don't want to like hit the wall or fall over wiping my ass. So it was like one hand on the wall, one hand wiping, completely wet.
How did they do the soap situation? Because there's no soap in the bathroom.
The soap is at the bar. So
Which I understand. Oh, you have to come out.
I had to
It's
come out.
But it's accessible for patrons.
You come
Got
out.
it.
So when I'm in there, I'm like, the left hand just stays on the wall clean.
Yeah.
The right hand is doing all the real order of
work.
operations, kind of.
Because for me, it's like a ticking time bomb if I don't wash immediately. Like every second,
Yeah.
like
Well,
my finger's about to fall
I mean, I'm in
off.
the sink
Wow.
in 3
I
wanna
seconds.
clean
3
it right
seconds. I
away.
was in the sink
Okay.
in 3
All right.
seconds.
I'm so liberal with it. I'm like,
Yeah?
oopsies, didn't wash
you're
my
walking around?
hands.
Just stink bombing the wall.
Start
When you
shaking
have a
everybody's
kid-
hand
when you have a kid,
outside.
I'm wiping ass. I'm wiping my own ass. I'm wiping
true.
our son's ass. Like,
true.
there's so many times where I'm like, there's definitely some shit on my face.
You're
like,
in the ass wiping phase.
I'm in the ass wiping phase. So
Trail
I've
feces.
gotten very, I think pre-baby, I was like, gotta wash my hands. Now I'm like, whatever. I don't give a
is true.
shit.
Yeah.
It's
You
She's
fine.
just
do
handing
learn a
out
lot
pink
about
eye.
yourself.
I've probably wiped ass, not washed my hands, and then eaten like with my hands
Right.
at this point.
There's a hepatitis risk going on.
That's
glad
just
I'm on
how
this
I'm
side.
living.
Yeah. But also more flavorful. Everything she's had is so much more flavorful
Yeah.
since Senna came.
100%.
Yeah. But you know, I feel like we should tell you, we met through a fantasy basketball chat.
That's right.
And it is the most intense fantasy league I've ever been a part of.
It is. And
There have been 3 coups.
How long has it been? 10 years?
Wow.
Was it 9 or 10 years? Did we
Somewhere
start
in that
2015 or
neighborhood.
2016?
Well, we knew each other before that.
I feel like we really got to know each
We
other.
really got to know each other
league.
through the league.
The Latrell Spreewell
Yeah.
Invitational.
The LSI Invitational. Yeah.
Yeah. Then now is the coup.
The coup.
Yeah.
Which is now going to coup.
We're gonna
We're
coup.
gonna
We gotta
coup.
coup
We're gonna
again.
coup.
You gotta call the league, bro.
Okay, so
Call the league.
for any women watching, it's a fantasy basketball league.
That's right. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We have to explain things because otherwise we're going to get. We know.
And
we're,
you put her
tuning
in the organizing chat. She's
I'm-
kind of
She's
part of the
organizing
management of the
committee,
league.
yeah.
Well, I was
you're
gonna
an
say
organized
it's
committee.
it's so ingrained in our lives that I'm in it.
But for you, it must be this strange bird's eye view
No,
into.
it's the best chat I'm in.
How does the
I'm
chat look like
obsessed
from your
with
perspective?
being in the chat. Well, I just it's a bird's eye view. I feel like I'm a
It's a-
voyeur of men's.
strange brains. Because
Yeah,
men's
men's
brains,
brains.
when they're together, that's when you see sides of men that normally they don't show to women.
Yes. So there's like.
But you're open enough
yeah.
to show your wife.
Well, because
the
we
entire
talk
thing.
about
hide
what
You
is
can't
there to
it.
hide, do you know?
Exactly.
And then
Embarrassing things.
no, but I love the
Things
chat
we
because
care
I
about.
feel like whenever there's drama, there must be like multiple chats. There's not just. Is there multiple?
We have the main chat with the whole league. Then we have the
Okay.
organizing committee, which you're in. Then
Okay.
me and Mills talk on the side.
Right.
Okay, because I'm like when there's drama or like just something funny that happens in the main chat, I feel like it gets brought to our chat. So I like that I get to key with you guys.
Yeah, we need to side. We need to side pod because
Yeah.
some people don't. I don't want to talk to some of those people
Yeah.
So,
at that
yeah,
moment.
yeah.
And then I
They
love
don't need to
that
hear what I need to say.
Dinks thought I was a man for like a year and a half. He's like, whose brother-in-law is this? I was like,
That's
Eddie's
amazing.
wife.
Yes, they thought you were the commission's brother-in-law.
Okay.
The other
The
funny
whole
one
time.
was when a member of another chat thought Shia was texting. Remember from the year before when you were out because of the 213 confusion.
Yeah.
Wait, what happened?
Yo, tell the story. You tell the story.
Did somebody think that they were texting
Because
me?
both of you guys were on the chat.
Yes.
On the when we were going to let him back in the league.
Yeah.
Because we got into the split.
Yeah. Okay, so we
Okay.
were about to let these dudes back in the league that had left the league.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then
you were on there.
yeah,
also.
they
Yeah.
put you on instead of me. So you were actually part of
No,
this.
you both were on there.
Oh, we were both on the
But
recruit.
since you changed numbers,
Oh,
they didn't have
yeah.
your
It was
number.
your old number and my
Yes,
new number.
yes.
And so they texted me and our commissioner on the side, and I was like, "Who's that?" And I'm like, "No, it's Shia, the 2 and 3. It's Shia."
Yeah.
That
Well,
was
I've
good.
been dying to be your 10th, and
Yeah.
you guys just won't let me in. And I will take
We
it
need a 10th.
seriously.
We need a 10th
I
this
will
year.
do my homework. I
need a
will.
10th.
I will come correct.
We needed.
I like her presence in the chat because it ends up allowing me to get a discount from the bookie that's also in the chat.
That's right. That's right.
Because
Oh.
when we owe him money, you're able to be like, bro, you're taking money out of my son's mouth.
Yeah, go
and that's
hard.
been helping us get discounts.
Yeah,
I'll
we
play
get-
it up.
Yeah.
I
I'm
didn't
feeding
know
off
we
that
were doing
discount,
that,
too.
but now that I know.
Yeah.
Like,
He's
you're
using
taking
the same
money away from
discount code.
Santa, bro.
Yeah, I could have been buying him another car.
He needs diapers.
Putting money in the college fund, man.
You have
Berries.
you buy him great gifts. Like that's one less gift Senna's getting.
Come on.
Because this guy's killing us on parlays.
Stacking money.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's destroying his friends' lives.
Yeah.
Fucking guy.
So yeah,
So-
the chat was really the root of it.
The root of our relationship was being degenerate gamblers,
right.
fantasy basketball.
That's right.
And I had been collecting art from your gallery, but
Yep.
primarily transacting through your brother.
That's right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he likes to transact.
He does like to transact.
He enjoys transact. We're just buddies
I
gambling.
mean, I like to transact too, but I don't think that was ever our pathway to
Yeah.
our friendship.
Friendship.
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
Al's forte is transacting. I feel like your forte may be like live gambling.
There you go. Just let me live.
Just let me live, yo. Just let me live. Yeah, but no, how did you get into the art world?
Yeah, with my brother. We opened the gallery. We opened a show in 2006 in Miami Basel, and then we just kind of got the bug, and then we opened the gallery in 2008, 2 years after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then we moved it to LA. So we opened in Miami, and then we moved to LA in 2011, and we were on that same space in La Cienega for a little over 10 years. The pandemic hit, our lease was coming up, and then we moved to Western, and now that's kind of formed this core of galleries that I think there's 11 galleries around us now, and we were the first to sign a lease in that space.
Yeah.
So it's brought this density of people coming through. It shows the foot traffic is much more than it ever was in West Hollywood.
Yeah, I definitely think you guys are pioneering like a new emerging art district in that. What's it called? Melrose Hill.
Melrose Hill.
Melrose Hill.
Yeah, essentially.
But even to go backwards, because I'm so bad, I always bury the lead. I was like more excited about your bowel movements and then our degenerate gambling.
That's right.
But it's like you own one of my favorite galleries, Moran, and it started in Miami. Like, how is it that you guys get into art like through the Miami door?
It was really through the connections that Al was making with people in New York, and Al was in printing, so there was a lot of printing that he was doing for artists, whether it was just books or collateral material or anything that kind of
Also, flyers for
Flyers.
Firestone.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
shout out Al.
So that connection really led to a lot of relationships, and we were essentially from the beginning bringing a sort of downtown New York program to a project space in Miami and giving people a space to experiment and do as much. Give them the keys, basically. Like we don't manage anything. We don't micromanage. We never micromanage what they needed to do. We provide a production money. All these things that you kind of peel back over the years when you start looking at the business and trying to understand how to make it work.
Yeah.
We were just kind of we didn't have experience with other galleries or museums that were art training, so a lot of it was off on the fly, and you make mistakes and you learn, but at least you own all those mistakes, and I think that was beneficial. But that's how it started. Then we realized Miami was not the market that was ever going to provide a forum to represent artists like we do with Soil and other artists that you collect.
Why? Do you mind getting into why? Like,
At the time, it didn't have the infrastructure. It didn't have enough galleries. It didn't have enough interest also for artists to even show there. Like you look at the main markets in America are going to be LA, New York, Chicago on a much lower level. Sorry, Chicago. But then, London, Paris, the big cities really kind of have the geographical centers of art, and the art world has always been geographically distributed. So I work with someone in LA, they work with someone in New York. And there's a separation of that. I can take them to fairs all over the world, but I represent them in Los Angeles. And Miami, I don't think was ever, it's changing, but at the time didn't have the clout of the art world to really have an artist feel like they needed a Miami gallery. And again, this is us not really knowing or trying to understand how this world works. And once we figured that out, we had to make a choice to move to either New York or LA. And a lot of the artists that we worked with were already represented in New York. So we moved to LA.
Yeah, I really relate to you because it's like I went to LA for Hollywood, right? Like once fresh off the boat popped and we're doing the show. And I would just use my rational brain and be like, oh, this makes sense. This is how you do it. And then I started to realize, no, that's not how the business works. There's like a very specific, irrational way that business works.
Yep.
Do you feel that way sometimes about art?
Beyond. And I mean, because I know it so well, I always feel like it's an industry that's really hard to explain to people. But I'm sure so many industries have that quirk. It's the kind of thing that your parents will never kind of understand what you do because you're not a doctor or a lawyer or work for an accounting firm or a marketing manager. It's really hard to explain to someone that just kind of wants to hear what you're doing, but it won't make a lot of sense.
Yeah, so for the bass fobs listening that are interested in art, can you give me one example of like where it doesn't make sense, but it is how it works?
I'm not going to sell this painting to you.
Oh, but I want the painting.
I'm not going to sell it to you.
I will suck your dick.
Okay, hold on.
That's just my rational brain. I'm like, all right, well, what if I put your penis in my mouth?
I have someone better to buy the painting, and I'd rather not sell it to you.
Is he better with his mouth?
It could be a she.
It's hard.
Real
It's hard.
competition.
Wait, all right, this is what I would like to say. This would be my counter.
Right.
And she taught me this. Don't you think a man would know better how to service that with his mouth?
Would change subjects, but absolutely.
I do think men suck better dick than women, generally.
Would you reconsider selling me this painting?
I would still not sell you the painting.
Okay, so
But
now,
so
now
these-
that's good. This
okay.
is a good example because that makes no sense.
Makes
a
no
man who really knows his way around a penis has
Right.
offered to service yours.
That's right.
And you still won't sell him the painting. Why?
Because the artist may not want it to go to that person. The market might be better served if it's in somebody else's hands. There may be a museum that's interested in it. There's a million reasons, but we're not selling widgets, and that's what confuses people a lot of time because sales are
I'm a
sales
widget
are
guy.
generally
You think I'm a
sales.
widget guy.
Yeah.
I look like a widget guy.
Yeah.
So there's a million reasons why you would choose not to sell to somebody, or they're going to sell it right away because they have that history, and that's going to hurt the artist market. There's probably a dozen reasons why you wouldn't make a transaction.
Yeah.
And you have, sometimes they're wrong, sometimes they're right, sometimes art dealers are just assholes, and sometimes they're too nice. And you're threading a very fine line between people's work, like the artists, the work that they put into it, their emotions. They're people, and they want to get paid, but every artist we work with, for the most part, I would say has zero option in life other than to be an artist. And everyone thinks that, I can paint that, or I can do that, or my kid could do that, or but navigating this world as an artist is very difficult. It's very hard. And there's a lot of young artists coming out of art schools in the last 10 years. I think it's something like 10,000 a year get graduate from MFA programs. I mean, that's a lot. That's just in America. That doesn't doesn't include Europe, or it doesn't include, the rest of the world. And it's really hard to crack that seam and get into like this level of the art world niche. So they want to be really careful with their careers, and they want to know where their work goes, and they want to know that you're going to make the right decisions for them. And it's not a straightforward sale, and it's not a straightforward presentation. And that's why it could just be this thing that most people don't understand.
You said something really interesting, that the artist might not want their piece to go to a certain collector or buyer. How much control generally would you say the artist has over where their pieces land?
Depends where they are in their career. If they're younger, they're going to mostly rely on us to give them that advice. As they get older, they start working with other galleries, and they navigate the system, and then they have opinions, and they have ideas, and they, then it starts to shift, and I've seen that happen a lot. But if you have a good relationship with an artist, then it should kind of work itself out. You should be able to explain to each other, or explain to them, or vice versa. This is important to me. Tell me why it's important to you. Let's meet in the middle. Or, okay, let's next time, if this doesn't work out, let's remember this for next time. Things like that. Having that relationship is important.
Yeah, it's super intimate.
Yep. It is incredibly intimate. You're a therapist, you're a friend, and you're also a business associate.
Yeah.
It's all those things in one.
Do the lines ever get blurred?
All the time.
Water gets muddy?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But as you get older, everyone, you have children, they get into relationships, and they might have to, everyone gets busier, like just the way you are with your friends. As you get older, you want to pick and choose the friends you want to spend that time with, because that time is so precious, right?
It absolutely is.
It is, and when you're younger, you don't feel that pressure because you're going to live forever, right? But as you get older, you really start to narrow the focus, and then it works the same way in this business, because I'm married to all these artists, essentially. We have formed a union and have agreed to work together.
And sometimes you have to stage a coup in the fantasy league.
Sometimes,
you just got to adjust the roster.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get divorced. Yeah.
Yeah. What is was there an artist early on that you felt like extremely passionate about and kind of it clicked for you?
I mean, Soil was an obvious one.
Yeah.
It's one of my early studio visits I did in 2012 and 2013. And that's probably the relationship, one of the strongest relationships I have in the gallery, personally, for me.
Yeah.
We talk all the time.
Yeah.
So I hate to keep saying Soil.
No, I love it. He's incredible.
But I know how much you
I'll
love the
tell
work.
you, for me, it was interesting. It was like, because you guys don't represent him anymore, but, the guy that got me really interested in your gallery was when Lucian gave like a little talk before a dinner.
Yep.
I think it was at Toroni. It might have been at
Sounds
Toroni.
right. Yeah.
And it was when he was doing the volcano paintings and the waves paintings. I ended up getting 2 paintings from the show just because I liked the way Lucian was talking about the art market and his career. And he had seen this huge spike from like interest in zombie formalism.
Yep.
And then it felt like that market, the bubble burst on zombie formalism.
On a lot of those artists, yeah.
Yeah, and it was one of the most interesting things I had seen in like a creative industry market before. I'm like, wait, so everybody pumped up these few like downtown artists and what they were doing, made it a huge bubble, and then kind of pulled the rug out from under them.
Right.
And to hear Lucian speak about it emotionally from his experience and reclaiming his like life almost.
For himself.
I wanted to support him.
Because felt like he was working for so many other people, and he just needed to rein it in. And whether he's making art now or not, I think he might still be making a little bit of art. He's doing so many other things. And I don't want to like.
Well, he's doing the restaurant, but do you mind explaining for people like your experience with the whole zombie formalism like bubble?
Well, it's a bubble like most art bubbles, where it just gets. People start consolidating the work. They buy it up really, really cheap, and then they start selling it at auction. Usually, the first sale goes really high, then it starts to drop, and then it's unsellable.
Yeah.
And now everyone's holding these worthless paintings. And you can argue that he made too many paintings. They made too many of the same paintings with the rain paintings. How this works is so nuanced, and there's no formula to understand it, because it's market demand. It's supply and demand at the end of the day.
I actually think his paintings were incredible. And that whole group of people were making really incredible paintings.
Yeah.
It was almost like it just got so hot, like a cronut or like Aimé Leon d'Or and Mulberry.
It's all that.
There's nothing
it's the tulip bubble. Like a bubble's a bubble.
Yeah.
It's become so valuable for reasons that aren't real, and it caters and value for reasons that aren't real.
Yeah.
And that's always the fear with an artist is most artists I work with want to have a steadier run, a steadier journey.
Yeah.
They want I always say this. I want you to be able to sell work in 50 years as we sell today. And that's the career you're looking for. Not the one that's going to make you a ton of money in the first 3 years and then you'll never work again.
Yeah.
Never work in this town again over $300.
Yeah.
You'll
You know what I'm
need
saying?
it.
You don't want to be that guy.
never-
You
Nobody
don't
wants
want to be that guy. We know a few of those guys.
Nobody wants to be that guy.
For people who aren't familiar, what do you think brought all those artists together under the banner of zombie formalism? Is there like a unifying trait or
Yeah, it's the
characteristics?
work. It's the abstract nature of the work and how it was made. It was production based, so it wasn't all made by hand. Like Lucian was spraying
Yeah.
the rain paintings.
Not for me, for people that
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
like give
Yeah,
it to
yeah,
me from the
yeah.
ground up because
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
people to
I've
understand.
never seen a
what this
piece of
work
art
was.
before.
Well, it was an
ever.
abstract painting that was made using production methods, and
Okay.
that can happen in a million ways. Whether they're screen printed, or whether
Yes.
they're sprayed, or whether they're just throwing paint on without any rhyme or reason to how it lands, and having
Yeah.
this idea of chance and this idea of the way abstraction kind of ends up looking like.
Yes.
So that was a 3 to 5 year period of artists around the same age that were all young, emerging artists, and they were all using production-based methods to make abstract art.
Yeah, they were all.
And then Jerry Saltz wrote about it. He called it zombie formalism. Jerry Saltz is one of the premier art critics in New York City. He wrote about it. He coined the phrase zombie formalism, and then it just kind of took down. After that, people were wondering, why am I buying this? I guess if it's being poked fun at by one of the best critics. And again, that may not be the only reason why it cratered, but it all adds up, And if you look at the market now, there's a lot of the world market, the business economy. People are insecure, indecisive. Ideas are changing. Tariffs here, they're on, they're off. There's a little bit. It's unsettled. There's chaos. People don't know what to do. What do you do when you're scared? You pull back. You protect your children. You don't know what it's going to look like next week. You want to hold it on your end. So let's sell it.
Yeah.
It's worth 100,000. I only paid 12. I'll take that. Oh, now it's worth 60. Hey, I still only paid 12. I'll take that. It's worth 30. Hey, I still only paid 12. Wow, it's worth 5. It's better than 0. And that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah.
It never ends.
And it's the old adage, right? Gallerists will always tell you, buy art you love, and then your relationship with gallerists, of course, changes when they have a painting they got to get off the wall and they're convincing you, yada, yada. But I think the original advice that gallerists give you, buy art you love, really never fails. Because if you love it, it has a place in your life. Like, I've collected several artists where they don't even have a market, but I'm like, they got a place in my home.
Yep.
And I'm very happy about that. That is the end of the free preview of this week's episode. For the full paid version, please consider becoming a paid subscriber on our Substack, Canal Street Dreams. Thank you.